Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like. We appreciate it.
Podcast below in the description. Check it out.
This conversation starts with a comment on our YouTube channel, John. This is from Philip Withers. Appreciate a real name on the internet.
Yeah.
One of the few, the proud, the brave.
I wonder if he's related to Bill Withers. R.I.P.
Philip says, doubt you'll read this, but here goes. Well, we read it, Philip. He says, I highly doubt, this is a reaction to a video we did about Deshaun Watson getting traded the week of the draft, was our prediction. He says, I highly doubt the Texans trade Deshaun Watson before June 1st because that'll leave them with $21 million in dead cap and just $5 million in savings, as opposed to trading him after June 1 when the dead cap will be $5 million and $10 million in savings. So he's saying the difference June 1 before 21 dead cap hit, after June 1, $5 million dead cap hit. He goes on to say, I think offering draft picks from this year's draft is pretty pointless considering the above. In my opinion, they'll ride with Watson in 2021 unless they find a replacement for him ready before June 1. Any trade offers should be consisting of draft picks for next year and onwards. They might be willing to absorb $20 million dead cap, but it's doubtful. Interesting question. I've seen a lot of people talking about this, June 1, post-June 1. I think this conversation tends to start with the money. The Texans are not about to win. So I think this conversation should start with the draft picks, John, and then work backwards from there. Does that make sense?
Well, but it's not a difference of $20 million. It's actually a difference of $16 million, right? Because they're going to incur some dead cap. Right. It'd either be 5 or 20. So there's a 6 or 21 or 20. So $15 million. 20.
Yeah, 21.6.
Okay, so if I'm a team that sucks and I can use this player because he does not want to be there and he's refusing to show up, and I know that, and he said he's never going to change his mind, wouldn't the value of the teams, if we just, let's say there's potentially 3 teams in the top 10 who wouldn't hesitate trading for him, which means including either pick 2, pick 3, or pick 8. That to me is worth alone, on top of several other first rounders, the extra 16 whatever million dollars in dead cap, because they don't have any picks. They don't have any players. They suck. So I couldn't disagree more that waiting for future picks, we've been talking over and over about this. When where John Gruden fucked up with Khalil Mack, I think did we talk about this on a video or the podcast yesterday or 2 days ago? If he had done that deal with the Bears 3 months before, right, just before the draft, I don't know if he would have taken Roquan Smith, but he would have had that pick 8. Like, that pick, and you're getting to evaluate the draft now. So I don't see how it makes any sense if you're them. To me, if they ultimately hold him through the draft and trade him after, it wasn't because of anything dead cap. It was strictly because of stubbornness, hoping that they could fix it, and 3, a failure because they fucked up, unless, like all those teams, which I say feels not possible, were not interested in acquiring Deshaun Watson. Like, if Deshaun Watson said right now, I want to be a Jet, would you be like, he'll probably be a Jet soon? If he's like, I only want to be a Jet, and they're going to trade him, do you think he'd be a Jet?
Well, I think I said this the last time we talked about it. Yes, but I don't know how to predict what the Texans are going to do. But yes.
I'm just saying, if they agree to trade him, he has a no trade clause, so he gets to control some of it. Like, if those teams, if he wants to go there, I just think he's going to end up there. Now, it's going to cost them a lot. It's not like they got no leverage. They got leverage. It's just one of those things, like, this is the price. You're going to get the guy, but it's going to pick 2 more first rounders, and maybe throw in Tua or whatever. Right. Sam Darnold, 3 first rounders, including pick 2. Like, that's just part of the deal. And then, like, that to me is going to be, you would much rather do that than worry about some dead cap.
Well,
right?
There's 2 things here. Number one, do they want to be good in 2021, or do they want to be good in the future? Future. So you need to start building now for the future. Again, the complicating factor is that they kind of want to keep Deshaun around. But let's just put aside that for a second and say they're going to trade him. Do they do it before or after June 1st? You do it before, because if you do it after, now you're delaying your rebuild another year, right? Because you don't have any draft picks, as you said, this year. Number 2, I just look at it as simple as you're buying draft picks with dead cap money. And I think having the 2nd or 3rd pick, or just a known quantity, let's say you trade them to the Niners and you go 12. It's not ideal. Well, it's probably better than what you'll get from the Niners in 2022 when Deshaun Watson's their quarterback. So you are paying, but you're not even paying real money. You're just paying dead cap that you're not going to use on your roster anyway this year, which is fine because you're going to stink. So your roster can, whatever, you can have a big cap hit this year. We see it all the time in the reverse when teams try to push, they try to restructure and push money back to try to compete in a given year, to squeeze it in. Well, you're not in that position if you're Houston. So take the hit now, get better draft. Not only better, you think he's a good player, that's why you want to keep him. So once you send him to a team, their draft picks, in theory, will be worse the following years because he's now on their team.
Didn't the Eagles essentially go, we were taking the dead cap hit for this third-round pick and potential first-round pick? That's the way they looked at it, right? We basically bought these picks.
Yeah,
we're going to trade them no matter what. And I think you could look at the Rams and the Rams trade. The Rams clearly ate some dead cap on Jared Goff, and they took back a huge contract and got rid of picks. But that's just, they're like, it's all worth it to just acquire this asset. Like, whatever you said to trade, we were talking about this yesterday, to trade for Deshaun Watson, to trade for definitely a Russell Wilson, it has to really hurt. Well, part of hurting is not like, there's not just one way to hurt now in the NFL, right? There's picks, there's dead cap. In the Niners case, some of these players have been thrown around. Like, it could hurt. I mean, it could be a pain in your ass multiple different places. You're like, fuck, we got to eat this cap space. We got to give him Fred Warner, and we got to give 2 ones,
but
right?
John, but wouldn't you say, now, your owner spending money and how much money they spend is a part
of
it.
But a dead cap is money that's already spent.
Yes.
Like,
if I were a GM, I would much rather it hurt this way than hurt in picks or players.
Or actual money, like you're really going to give so-and-so $50 million guaranteed.
Right.
Dead cap is money that's already been paid. Like Jared Goff's or Carson Wentz's, Jeffrey Lurie and Kroenke have already spent that money, right?
The only way the hurt
Deshaun's contract is unique, right? Because we had talked about this yesterday. It doesn't really get going until next year when it starts going 35, 35, 35. He set up his contract a lot differently than Wentz and Goff because he took way less guaranteed money for what? No trade.
Yeah, his cap is 40, by the way, next year. 22 in 2022. He's making 35, but the cap hits 40.
But if he's a Pro Bowl elite guy, it's just part of the price of doing business, right?
Without question. Without question. This is not money this is not cap space you need this year because now I should say this. They haven't said yet they're good being bad, that they're okay with being bad, right? Once you trade them, you're accepting that you're resetting. Right now, they're trying to keep them. And they're hoping against hope that they can keep them. And they're doing the thing where it's like, well, you said no a million times, right? It's very Jim Carrey.
I think it would be a lot less. This whole thing would be a lot less complicated if they hadn't paid him last year and he was due a huge extension and you were just kind of due a Khalil Mack. That's where you could be like, listen, we're going to trade him to you for the right to pay him. And it costs 4 1s and 2 2s, right? Because no dead cap. It's just you get this player kind of like that was Khalil Mack, Jalen Ramsey, and Jamal Adams. You were buying the right to pay the player.
Yeah.
That's where it gets I do think teams kind of can push back. Well, you've already paid him. Some of his cap hits are not the way we would structure. It gets but he's so good that it's like
I don't
have
think
that
it's
much
going to
leverage
change with the Texans.
On that side.
Yeah, it doesn't change with the Texans. The beauty would be we get him this year. At least we get 1 year of him at a $15 million cap hit before it goes to 40.
Yeah.
His cap
because
hit
you
for
would
the
probably
Texans,
you would have to pay that, right? If you were extending him, it'd be a massive extension.
Yeah,
his extension now would be dramatically bigger than it was last year, right? Coming off his best season.
His extension now would be yeah, especially if it was part of the trade acquisition.
Yeah,
because now he's got to
when you say most
trade,
of these guys,
so you've got to tell him how much you're going to pay him before he waives the no trade.
Remember, Khalil got traded, and it's kind of crazy that he made more than Aaron Donald. Looking back, like Aaron Donald's just you'd rather have Aaron Donald, but Aaron got like 87, 88, and then Khalil was like traded, boom, 90 million.
You're like, it makes sense because he was not a free agent, but he basically could tell a team, don't trade for me unless you're going to pay me X.
Yeah. Well, that was part of the acquisition. You're paying me at the point that you trade for me.
But I'm just saying it's like
why I'm holding agency. Out, guys.
It's like a free agency situation, right?
Because he's not holding out. You're right. He's not holding out anything related to money. It's irrelevant in terms of like looking for more money. That's not the root of his issue. It's I hate these guys.
Yeah. The only way this makes sense, and I don't think it does make sense in the scenario I'm about to give you, is if the Texans are like, Tua's good, man. And we can go to the playoffs this year with Tua. We gotta make sure to use this money right. You know what I mean? But now you're giving up the pick. I don't think they think that. And even if they did, I would spending dead cap
do
money
not
on
make
picks
that. No chance.
is like we've seen teams in the NBA spend real money on picks. To spend dead money on picks.
Well,
I
that's
think
essentially the
Dwayne would be
NFL
crazy.
does indirectly, right? Use dead cap space for picks and stuff like that. They don't actually like you legally can't go, here's $10 million for a second round pick, but they can do it that way.
But if you
remember
said,
Osweiler, remember that trade with the Texans where the Texans unloaded Osweiler and had to give a second round pick, and they got in trouble for it because it was like, you guys are kind of buying the pick that's not allowed in the bylaws. But this wouldn't be viewed that way because the dead cap's nothing.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah,
16 million difference. That's what we're talking about here, right?
Which is, to me, is weird. It doesn't feel that much.
So let's say that you could trade cap space for picks.
Okay.
And the Jets offered up the second pick. What you would do is you would take on dead cap, like they would transfer to you $16 million of dead cap, and you would take their pick. How much dead cap would somebody take on for the second pick in the NFL draft?
If they loved the quarterback, it'd have to be a quarterback. I'd say $35 million.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Niners, you'd be like, okay, so we cut Jimmy, that's 24, or we trade Jimmy, ideally, that's 24. We'll take on, we'll offer you $20 million in dead cap. We'll take on $20 million in dead cap. We'll save money.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking. That's part of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, teams would gladly do it.
I think so too.
For quarterbacks only, I think. Now, the incremental, like, could I get Amari Cooper for $5 million dead cap? Yeah, but I'm saying the big amount you would only do for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Or at least a good team would. You'd be dumb not to, because the other position doesn't affect a gambling line. Like, it's very like getting a good player. Like, Khalil Mack doesn't guarantee you anything, right?
Right.
Quarterback does.
Right.
Deshaun definitely does. That you think, right?
I do wonder if you could even do. I mean, you wouldn't do. I wonder if you could get $15 million for, if let's say Nick Bosa's sitting there and you think Nick Bosa's Khalil Mack.
I'd say a pass rusher would get the second most.
Left tackle, or a tackle.
I think left tackle, right tackle to me is a little overrated.
I'm not talking about the different side. I'm just saying like offensive, just like elite franchise cornerstone lineman.
I think the one thing you've seen the last couple of years is like more sweet guys are coming in the draft.
Yeah. All right. Let us know what you think about that.